All right. So thanks for joining us today. This is our first in what we hope is a series of webinars, videos that we're going to be putting out around Splunk performance, tips and tricks, development, that kind of stuff. We just wanted to have a more regular series where we're sharing information. All of these webinars will be recorded on our YouTube page, and we'll send out links for it. But thanks for attending. And for our first one, what we wanted to talk about was users' impacts on Splunk performance. Everybody's obviously for the right reason focused on hardware specs and making sure that your system can run Splunk properly, which is a very important part of performance. But understanding what your users are doing and whether there's ways to clean some things up in that regard can make a huge difference, and that's what we wanted to talk about today in this video. So a little bit of background, just so you guys know who we are and why you should care about what we're talking about. So we're Function1. We are a professional services company that was founded in 2007 and became one of Splunk's first professional services partners in 2011. We have won some awards from Splunk. We've delivered a lot of custom applications and solutions for Splunk. And in terms of what we do from a services perspective, we do traditional Splunk consulting, we do dashboard and app development, we do health checks, performance tuning, and we do custom training, among the other things listed on this slide. And through the course of our history with Splunk, we've worked with some of Splunk's largest customers in various capacities. This is not an exhaustive list of the companies that we've worked with, but just to give you a highlight of the industries and sizes of companies that we've worked with in the past. So if there's questions as we're going through this, I think you can ask them through the Q&A in the Zoom webinar, and then we'll address them at the end if there are any. But what we wanted to talk about was why performance matters. Obviously, when you invest your money in Splunk, you want to make sure that it's running at peak performance. You want to make sure that you're not ingesting data that you don't need to from a license perspective. You want to make sure that your searches are running as quickly as they can to provide that level of value to your end users. And you want to make sure that you have the right combination of real-time searches, and that the visibility of that data that you're trying to make decisions off of comes back at the right place from both an ingest and search perspective. So like I said, what we're going to be talking about today is specifically how user bad habits can impact Splunk performance. And some of the things that we're going to talk about in the call today are duplicate scheduled searches, dashboards running inefficient searches, and duplicate summary indexes, and poorly constructed dashboards. These aren't necessarily problems that we see in smaller Splunk deployments, but as your deployment gets bigger and you have different teams doing different things, you have common data sources, you have common indexes, we tend to see that there tends to be duplication across what's being done through the deployment. So in the case of duplicate or unused searches, we have users who don't know what other users have created. So for example, let's say I have some authentication logs that I brought in, and I'm trying to, look at a count of failed authentications. Two different teams might be interested in that and might have created common save or duplicated saved searches to run that. And in a lot of cases, there's no way that people would know about that. Users don't always clean up everything when they don't need a search anymore. So I might have created a saved search, it's running. Now it's not a relevant saved search, it's not being used by anything. Not that my account is gone, that's a different situation from orphan search. But in this case, we have a search that isn't valuable anymore, but is still running and using up resources. So that's a pretty common problem in big Splunk deployments. We also have dashboards running inefficient searches. Obviously, not all searches are constructed the same way. There's different commands, there's different ways of getting data out of Splunk. There's some commands that, while obviously are available to be used, aren't always necessarily the best way to do something. So, and it's hard to really tell what those are and how those are being used. In the case of summary indexes, this is similar to our searches, but in this case, we're also taking up storage space. Whereas in the duplicate or unused searches, we have saved searches that are using memory and CPU to run searches that maybe those results aren't being used. In this case, we're also populating summary indexes. And again, in the duplicated case, we could have very slightly different use cases that have created different searches. And in a larger sense, if someone was looking at it holistically, could have said, okay, if we make a slight tweak to this summary search, now we can use these results in multiple use cases. And so those are definite areas for improvement. And then within dashboards, we have an issue for dashboards containing too many base searches, dashboards using inputs that have long-running searches populating those inputs. And then you have dashboards that aren't used potentially. And these are another case where you have those resources, that saved searches or whatever, that might be populating or driving the view of those dashboards, but then nobody's using it. Or you have dev cycles being used on keeping a dashboard up to date, but no one's using it. So these are all cases where you might be able to find some optimization by looking at those areas. So obviously these are things that are problems, but the question is, what's the best way to figure out where those areas of improvement are, and without going through every object on a regular basis. So the product that we have is called Bloodhound. This is a free app on Splunk base that helps with that specifically. Here's some of the customers that are using Bloodhound currently. We've had some recent development on it, and we'll talk about some of the changes or some of the updates that we're planning for the app in the future at the end as well. But for now, I wanted to kind of jump in and show a quick demo of this on a base system. Obviously, this isn't going to be a large production system. This is just one of our dev sandbox instances, but just to give you an idea of the screens that are available within the app and how you could leverage them within your environment. So if I log into Splunk here, Okay, so we'll go to the Bloodhound app, and you'll see across the top, these are the kind of areas that we talked about before. And what you'll see here is in our dashboard analysis, we're telling you these are potential problem areas within this Splunk deployment. So the way it works in the back end is there are some saved searches that run against the REST API to pull information about Splunk, about the objects within Splunk, pull some information about job runs, and merges those together into a KV store that the dashboards in Bloodhound use for displaying this information. So in here, we're going to see potentially bad dashboards. So this is showing the app and the dashboard and why we're potentially considering it bad. These are because of a high number of base searches. You could, that's the default sort order. You would see that, some of these are just like this one's running 19 base searches. That's potentially not a best practice. In the potentially bad searches, we're going to see searches that were run that are using some potentially problematic terms. Again, these aren't necessarily issues that you have to change them right away, but these are giving you an idea of things that you might want to look at as areas for performance improvement. Dashboards with bad input queries. These are dashboards that are using time series searches instead of lookup searches. So in general, the best practice for a dashboard is you want to have really quick searches populate your dropdowns, because you don't want those, you want the page to be ready to your user as quickly as possible. So this is giving you cases where you can see dashboards where that's not the case. We don't have any malformed dashboards on here, but these would be dashboards that are giving you XML errors and just aren't processed properly. And then in the unused dashboards, we're going to see for a particular time period, we're defaulting to the last 30 days here, which dashboards had no hits. And so this will, again, give you an idea, and you can filter this by app if you wanted to just look at ones from a particular app. So if I wanted to look at just Bloodhound, this would give me all of the info for just the Bloodhound app. So the next page is search analysis. It's similar to some of the data that we were seeing on the dashboard page, but this is looking against all searches and not just things related to dashboards. And then these are unused saved searches, which are searches that have not been used in the last 30 days again. And here you can change that time frame if you want to change that around. In the summary index analysis, we look at how many summary searches there are. In this case, we have one summary search, and it tells you what index and source type is being used. And so this is where you'd be able to tell that there's potentially some areas for consolidating if you have multiple searches that are using the same index and source type. And then unused summary indexes. This is now from that summary data, are we using that data in any other searches? So this is looking at all of the searches that have run over the past 3 months and is saying, did we ever run a search against this summary index, against this summary data? So this is showing up because there was no search for that data. So this is then giving you an idea that, hey, I'm populating this summary index, I'm spending all these cycles, I'm using all this storage, but no one's ever looking at the data after the fact. And that's something that is pretty hard to tell easily from just looking at some of the Splunk dashboards. Here in user activity, you'll be able to see your top users for the last 7 days, what dashboards they hit, and another piece that customers have asked for, which was they want to know when data was exported out of Splunk. So this is, using this download button for the export and when data was exported. So this will show you who did the export, when, and give you an idea of what they were exporting. Scheduled searches on dashboards. This is showing you which saved searches are scheduled to be run that are running on dashboards, so that you can see if there's duplication, what's being run, how many times the dashboard was hit, how many times the search ran. And expensive searches on dashboard. This is going to show you across your apps, well, how many searches were run, what's your average run duration, the disk usage, megabytes, again, so you can try to figure out, are there certain dashboards or searches that are more problematic than others, to give you an idea of what to look at next. On the dashboard metrics page here, you're going to see your top dashboards, the most viewed dashboards over time, and then your most used dashboards with details. And this is just pulling stuff from the Splunk internal logs. So that's what the app gives you currently. Come back in here. Some of the things that we have planned for the next releases of Bloodhound are better search head cluster support, more detailed search job analysis. We've gotten some feedback from customers that are using it currently that we're trying to incorporate as well. And then we're looking at some subscription models where there might be more prescriptive advice given to you from the app based off of, as things change, or as we can develop new tests that might make Bloodhound more exciting. We don't have that fully baked out yet, but that's kind of on our roadmap. So that's what we wanted to cover today. I don't know if we have any questions. It doesn't look like we do. I can't see the question thing, but yeah. I think we'll send you a survey from attending, and if there's anything that we can follow up with you on after the fact, please let us know. If you have any suggestions for the app or things that you wish the app could solve that it doesn't, then definitely reach out to us, and we'd love to have a deeper discussion with you around what what that use case is, and see if there's ways that we can have this app solve it. But thank you all for attending, and hopefully we'll be doing this again in the near future. Thank you.